This is the part of the podcast where Andy just stares at the screen and doesn't know.
Because it says off air. Okay. Hey, welcome to Gooners in the USA. Today I am joined by Lovable Mike and Mr. I want to join Fantasy NFL. I'll set my lineup every week. Fucking bullshit, Lee Judges.
It's a bit harsh. And can I let into a little secret? Like, can I say it, Mike? Like, yeah.
I don't know what your secret is. I told you to change your lineup this week.
Yeah, he says, whatever you do not change your lineup this week.
I did not say that.
It's exactly what he said. Like, you know what I mean?
I did not say that. I said, whatever you do, change your lineup because we don't want to seem like we're collaborating on this. So,
right, like, that's his story. Mine's completely different. Like,
you know, Lee, I'm going to trust you on this one because I've been behind the scenes with Mike and I've heard of the shady business that's happened in our NFL group. And yeah, it's bullshit.
But
I don't understand the rules of fantasy football, but by next year I'm going to be right hot up on it because I'm going to study it, like, you know. But Mike's told me a few things to do. But I've really enjoyed like getting spanked every week.
140 to 16, I think, which is what the score.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Right, so that's the wrong kind of football, though, for this podcast. It is. It's a warm evening in North London, actually, quite warm. My last one in North London. I'm gutted, but I will be going for my final Chinese after this, so I'm buzzing about that. I couldn't keep the winning streak alive. I'm sorry, but I've kept the undefeated streak alive. So, Gooner family, you are welcome for that. Our guest tonight, as we all know, he's back for the 47th time. It's the Right Honorable Lee Mark Judges III, Duke of the Half Pint, and personal valet Kevin of Campbell. How's that for an introduction? I have to
what can I say? Like,
I thought my introduction was better.
Yeah, I think it was all right. I got absolutely bantered on Saturday night, you know, and I got a lot of stick, and I was very hurt, Andy. I'm very hurt, like, you know that.
Well, if I knew it was going to hurt your feelings, I wouldn't have said anything. That's how I am. Anyway, it's been a big week since the last time we potted, Andy. There's been three big football matches this week. The first one, which was by far the biggest. A night in Sutton. The best football team in Sutton take on the mighty Chesterfield FC. Lee, that was some proper non-league football, wasn't it?
That was great. It was really good. I'll tell you what, like, I was thinking, do I really want to go? Do I want to really go? I'll be honest, but I went, and it was a real good laugh, and it's fantastic. And for the people that don't know Claude, you know, very well, he was on top form that night, and I've never seen someone change their team so quickly because he knew the manager in the other dugout. Because Martin Allen was managing Chesterfield. As soon as he seen him, he was, come on, Chesterfield. He changed his team completely.
He's standing there in front of the Sutton home supporters and behind the Chesterfield bench, just openly rooting for the opponent. Back into the clubhouse and expecting people to be all right with that, which they were, actually.
Yeah, they were. But I've never seen someone change his team so quickly, like, you know. So
the video that you guys were sending out of your evening on the streets alone was entertaining, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean,
we were screwed at one stage, yeah, weren't we? We was absolutely, we had it. You know,
he wasn't getting himself sleeping on the streets of Sutton at that moment in time. So.
South London, you know, if you go over the water, you're well out of order. And like, we were stuck there for the night at one stage. But well, I'll let Andy explain what happened with the driver. You know, he comes to save our life, and then he goes and wrecks his car. You know,
yeah, I mean,
unbelievable.
We had a good night. Claude bought you 2.5 pints of beer. Claude had a different color than the rest of us for some reason.
Can we tell that story? Can we tell?
I want you to tell that story because I'm leaving, and you'll be the one who has to take shit from Claude over it.
I don't know if I can or can't. Andy, what do you think? Should we tell a story?
Yeah, of course you should.
All right, we will do then. Like, you know, when we go to the game, it's £15 to get in. Okay.
£15.
£15. But so Claude says £15. And I said, well, you can get in an old age pensioners rate for £8. He said, oh, I couldn't do that. I could not do that to Sutton. You know, I want to, keep.
I thought it was just misplaced pride about
keep the non-league team in funds. I can't do that. You know what I mean? I'm very tempted, but I can't do that. So in we go. Me, Lewis, Mike, given yellow tickets, like, you know, and Claude. You know, so we're sitting there like so. We said and said, well, let's look at the tickets. So we look at the tickets, and we've all got yellow tickets, like, you know. And when we have a look at Claude, he's got a green ticket. So I said, what you got a green ticket for? And on it is old age pensioners. He gone and done it on the quiet, and we didn't even know. And he thought he got away with it, didn't he, Mark, until it was a different coloured ticket, like, you know?
Oh God, the green ticket! And I want to say hello to Lewis, who is in the chat right now, along with Gary.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fun night, you know, and
got to see Craig Eastman, former Arsenal player.
What a nice guy he was as well, Mike. When he really come over and had a chat with us, and yeah, it was a good night. It was funny, and we all managed to get home at time. I think Lewis was the one unbelievably moaning about it all the time. I thought I was bad, but my God, he was like a woman.
You got door-to-door service, basically.
Door-to-door service, yeah. So anyway, I'll see him in the next game. And I said to him, what time did you get home? And he said, 11:30. 11:30? You know what I mean? That's early, you know what I mean? Like, I said, 1 o'clock in the morning I got home, and he was panicking and moaning like an old woman, and he got home at 11:30.
Classic Lewis.
Oh, unbelievable. But if we love him.
If he hadn't had to have been dropped off, I wouldn't have ripped off the front door of the guy's Ford.
Yeah, so, down to him, I've got to blame someone, so we'll blame him. You know what
I mean? Cackling like school children in the back seat.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, honestly, Andy, there was a month when this bloke's going, you've ruined my door. And me and Claude were sitting in the back, you know, like he was back at school and you're not allowed to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't help it. I had tears rolling down my eyes. I could not stop laughing. And you know, when you look at
the whole way,
me and Claude could not look at each other, because if we did, we'd just burst out laughing. And I'm thinking, I can't laugh here because I need to get home. You know what I mean? Like, Soddy's door, I need to get home. You know, it was. The first
part of the car ride was laughter, banter. The driver was getting in on it. The second half was just dead silence. So we got to King's Cross and we got to check out his door.
As soon as Lewis left, it all went downhill, didn't it? Like, you know what I mean? So
that's the way it normally goes. So, and then, you know, again, we got some great matches to talk about as well. But we before the game, you and I got a chance, Lee, to walk around Old Highbury and reminisce about the old days. And there's a video of that up on our YouTube page as well. Some content beyond just our podcast, but. We've talked about it offline, but I mean, was that an enjoyable 20 minutes, or did you were you just getting your way?
Yeah, I think it was. Do you know what? It's a better in 20 minutes once the next day. Do you know what I mean? But when I was there, it was a very, it weren't very nice. And the reason it comes back to you is because I felt, you know, when we left Highbury in 2006, I couldn't wait to leave, to get over to the Emirates, because it was all this big thing about the Emirates, and, you know, looking forward to the new stadium, and, you know, you'd go over Highbury and you'd see it being built, and it was exciting, you know. And now, knowing what I know now, God, I miss those days, you know. And I can't really explain it, but it was great to go back and see the marble halls as they still are, and things like that. But to actually go onto the pitch and see what he is now, I have to say it was heartbreaking. I have to say that, like, you know. So
yeah, it is a little sad. I spent some time out there the other night. I actually ran into your buddy that we ran into that day. I ran into him
Dave,
later.
Yeah, Dave.
Yeah, ran into him at Bank of Friendship on Friday night. But it was a good recap. Good, you know, little shameful run of trying to show what Kevin Campbell's first goal at the Highbury looked like. You know me, I got to do something stupid on every video that we take. But
he's actually watched that, and he admitted to it that he watched it, like, you know. So.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
I'm glad he didn't tell me what he thought of. And then Wednesday night, the massive League Cup battle against Liverpool, and I want to thank you, Lee, for sorting out amazing tickets. I mean, just it was my first time not sitting either North Bank lower or clock end upper, so it was a great view. Felt very posh. It was like Pretty Woman, except if Richard Gere was bald and Julia Roberts had bigger breasts.
I'll tell you what, between me and you, Andy, he was bloody embarrassing. I'm telling you. I took him up,
again with me again.
I took him up in the posh seats, like, you only, one wine, he's got 4 racks up, like, abusing, like, I mean, and the woman's going, oh, not enough, not you again, American. Yeah, I said, he's Americans, like, so he totally abused the red wine situation, so
the red wine situation.
You just gotta call yourself like Kroenke Jr. or something.
Oh, you can imagine there's proper Arsenal fans in there. They don't like the Americans anyway because of Kroenke, and he got Mike caning the red wine, and it's unbelievable.
I was doing
cynical Americans taking money out of the Arsenal. Go on, there you go. Like, he's taking it out in red wine. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable. But
well, my talking notes for this match, Mike, are fuck this game. We're into the next round. Let's move on to Liverpool.
And I think we should fuck the game because it is a League Cup game in comparison to what we really need to be talking about. But 2 things. Number 1, Lee, who would you say was the man of the match? And please, for the love of God, pronounce his name correctly.
Liechtensteiner.
You almost got it. So you're ready to admit that he had a good game on that.
I'll tell you what, this is unbelievable.
League competition.
Look, I'm not saying I don't like him. Let's get this quite right. I just don't think he's the sort of signing that Arsenal should be going for with, like the Emirates and things like that. But in saying that, people like my good mate Tony and all that say, oh yeah, but he's a great, he's great for Bellerin and all that. Well, he's not a coach. He's a player, you know what I mean? But he come on the other day and Mike went, he's going to score today. Like, I said, yeah, of course he is. Like, he won't get past the halfway line, you know what I mean? He's that old. But, oh, my God, he didn't score. And, you can imagine Mike give it to me, like, so.
That was the greatest moment, I think, was sitting next to you when Lichtsteiner scored his first goal.
Lichtsteiner, that's his name, Lichtsteiner.
Lichtsteiner, player coach.
Stefan Lichtsteiner. I'll just call him Stefan. Shall I call him Stefan or Stephen?
You can call him Licky.
Licky don't like he.
Secondly, North London Derby awaits in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, that's the greatest thing about it.
Yeah,
we managed to get Spurs afterwards, like, so which would be a great game now. So we've had a couple of not great games, playing like lower opposition, but the reward is now a North London derby. We've got West Ham last season in the quarterfinals, and now Spurs. So
we're going to spank them.
Say again?
Are we going to spank them in this one?
I don't think we'll spank them, to be honest. I think they're a really good side. But we're at home, and if we play like we did the other night, we've got every chance of beating them.
Absolutely, we do. And let's go to this month. It was the big test, a match we were told countless times by all the experts. We were going to get battered around on and off the pitch. We haven't played anyone. They were just too good. How'd that work out for everyone?
I mean, yeah, all the experts. Paul Merson was not completely off base, in my opinion, with his suspicions, his concerns. It's just that he seemed, A, too happy about it. B, he didn't put any kind of context on it that, so far we are kind of ahead of schedule, but here's the big test. It just came off negative and pissy, which is what makes it all the more satisfying to be able to rub it in his face now. Saturday night, watching Kevin Campbell mocking Merce at the 12 pins brought tears to my eyes. I mean, it was classic. The man played with him, and he took great delight in rubbing his face on it a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't what they said it was going to be, was it, Lee?
No, it wasn't. And it was a good test for us. And there was that moment when we was losing. You sort of did think, oh, here we go. The first real top side we played, we was going to lose. But I don't know about you, Mike and Andy. You was watching it in America, but even though we went 1-0 down, I felt that we always had a chance of getting back into the game. I felt like the last couple of seasons, if we was playing one of the big boys, we'd lose a goal and then lose another goal straight away. But we seemed to, like dust ourselves down a little bit and didn't panic. I thought that was a good thing about it. We didn't panic and go gun-ho. We just sort of said, all right, we'll wait by our time. Still got 25, 30 minutes to get this goal. And to be honest, I honestly really feel if it went for another 5 minutes, we might have actually nicked the game, So, on one hand, disappointed that we didn't win it because we're at home. But on the other side, I thought there was so many pluses from the night, And also, I have to say on Paul Merson, that if Liverpool would have took their chances in the first half, they could have well scored 3 or 4 goals, So we rode our luck a little bit, the decision and everything like that. But I also thought that we created some good chances and was unlucky with a few against a team that's only, by the way, conceded 4 goals this season. So
yeah,
the positive is that we opened them up as many times as they opened us up, and we're supposed to have the suspect back four, and they're supposed to have got the best back four in the league because they've spent a lot of money on it. So from that point of view, I thought it was a great advert for football as well, English football. It was a great game. The atmosphere was fantastic in it, end to end, and really enjoyed it.
No, absolutely. And Mike, I want to stay with Lee's point because we had it later on in the agenda, but when we went a goal down, I feel like in previous seasons that following 10 minutes, we were on the ropes.
Yeah.
And I really felt like under Arsene, and no bash on him, but under his regime, that would have been perfect time for Liverpool to scalp us. So, you would put something about body language. Tell me a little bit about what you saw, because I saw us on the ropes getting knocked around, but there was just there's this now kind of vibe with Arsenal where it's like, I don't see it happening. I don't see us conceding that second right away. There's just some composure that we haven't seen in the last couple seasons.
Yeah, I mean, I'm nothing if not an expert on body language. I mean, the whole time I was at your house, I was just reading everyone's body the whole time. I mean, it's so important.
Yeah, Chris did say, "Don't ever let him back in the house."
I wasn't talking about her as much as your au pair, but anyway, yeah. As disappointed as I was when they scored, in this particular game, I was able to actually look at the faces of the players, the coaches, and I was scanning back and forth to see how they would react to going down a goal. And they're all walking back to to set up for the next kickoff. And you've talked about it a lot. You talk about the body language, the expression, the kind of the moving around of the arms, and waving your arms like an airplane doesn't win you a game. And not waving your arms doesn't lose you a game. But when you see intensity in situations where normally you'd see people dropping their heads, you'd see no eye contact between players and players, between players and coach, it's refreshing. I saw Xhaka, I saw Holding, I saw Emery, a couple more who I didn't jot down their names, just all looking at each other intensely, waving their arms, looking at the crowd and waving their arms as if to say, we fucked up. We're going to fight back. We need you with us. We need you making noise. And hell yeah. At that point, the feeling in the building was that we were going to strike back. And I can't remember the last time I felt that, but it was palpable.
So this was Emery's real first test tactically that he's come up against with Klopp. He's had 10 games under his belt in the league now. Liverpool, as Lee have just said, defensively unreal. They're firing on all cylinders up front. Mike, before the match, tell us a little bit about what the atmosphere was like going into the stadium and the pub. I mean, previous years, everyone's kind of like, hey, we can do it, but you've still got that feeling of it's Arsenal, it's top 6, we're probably going to lose. Was the vibe different this year? Were there nerves?
I would say so. I mean, it felt a little nervy just because, this is, the last time we played an opponent of this type of quality, we lost. And, but there was an impressive balance of confidence as well. I mean, something I haven't seen in the years I've been coming. And it was a little surprising to me, actually, because we kind of sputtered a bit against Palace. We didn't look particularly dominating against a League One team in Blackpool. But most of the people I talked to, most of the predictions that people were giving out at the pub was for a draw or even a narrow Arsenal win. I mean, there was just a lot of confidence. And I didn't hear a lot of 3-1 or 4-1 losing predictions, even though, pessimistic me, I was trying to set myself up for disappointment by predicting a score. But I didn't feel that many people were doing that. So, I mean, Lee, going every week and seeing how the mood is from week to week, did you feel that there was more optimism, or was it about par for the course?
I thought it was par for. I think there's always optimism that you can beat a team. I think it was, to be honest, I felt that there's a sense of togetherness with everybody at this moment in time, and I have to say the atmosphere in the ground, even before kick-off and everything, was really, really positive. And I'll tell you what was a real good thing. I don't know if you noticed it, but I've noticed that even when games are tight game against Blackpool on Wednesday, we was down to 10 minutes. Could have gone either way at one stage, but 10 minutes from the end, people walking out. I didn't see that on Saturday. Whether that's because it was a little bit later kickoff, I don't know. But everybody seemed to stay to the end as well, So it was really positive going into the game. Everybody was sort of saying, that getting behind the team, And one thing that everybody was sort of saying, which wasn't happening so much last season, it didn't really matter about the result. I know that sounds silly. Everybody just wanted to see us really perform. Let's see how well we're going to do. Let's see if we can compete with these boys. You know what I mean? And I think even if we'd have lost by the one goal, 1-0, I still think people would have come out there and said, you know what? Okay, we've lost, but we really give it a good go. And and I felt that even though we'd drawn the game, I'm going to be honest. I'm a little bit disappointed today that we didn't win the game, because I felt that we was good enough to win the game. I felt that we was in with it a good chance. But the one thing from my point of view was we was always in the game from the first minute to the last. Now, how many times have we played big teams and been out of it with 20 minutes to go? Even the cup final last year, with 3-0 down with half hour to go. We wasn't like that in this game. We was in it to the end. We could have won it, we could have lost it, and we ended up drawing it. And I think that's what all the fans have been crying out for, is to just being competing in these big games. And listen, Liverpool are going to be one of the title contenders. They're going to come. I don't think they're going to win it, but I think they'll come close. But we really, really compete with them. I even felt last season, when we drew 3-3 with them, I felt that we had a 10-minute spell where I felt that they just capitulated themselves more than we really took it to them. I thought that they was always in control of that game, but in this one, I felt that we was the team on the front foot. I felt that our substitutions were more positive. Klopp, was out thought and out tactics in a game. From our manager, out tacticking somebody is unbelievable. We haven't seen it for so long. So there's so many positives to look at it from that point of view, And the fans what's great about the fans, Michael Tell be going down to Crystal Palace, is that you'll talk to someone in the crowd and they go, what? Because they was always a little bit on edgy that you was looking for trouble, or, wasn't going to be on their same wavelength. But now everybody's jumping on each other and, talking to each other again. There's definite different vibe around Arsenal at the moment. And it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
You mentioned Klopp, and it just brought back a memory that, I was, again, looking a lot at the coaching because we were on that west stand behind the benches. And I mean, Klopp, maybe this is common. I don't see him 90 minutes out of the game. I only see him when they show him on television. He looked aggravated and frustrated, and he's very demonstrative. That's the Klopp that there's going to be there. But he looked like his tactics were being, or either that, or he didn't feel that his players were really carrying them out that much. And it's nice to see that from an opposing coach.
Yeah, it is, and we'll get to that in a little bit. One thing that the BBC wrote after the match was, it seems like the atmosphere at the Emirates feeds off of Unai. And when he is on the sidelines and he is gesturing to the players, the buzz of the stadium picks up because of that. And so, as Lee said, we haven't seen that for such a long time. And that's to no fault of Arsene. It's just a different way. And there's just a different hunger now amongst not only this team, but the supporters. And I think the best thing for us is in this match was we were toe-to-toe with them for 90 minutes. And it wasn't as if they just played us off the park and we got lucky. Like, we could have nicked it as well as they could have. And we got awfully lucky. I mean, the Mane goal was ruled offside. I completely see why they ruled it off, but you would expect at this level, the crew, the officiating crew should know the rules. And Mike, I mean, we got really lucky, but sometimes that's what you need over the course of a long season, not necessarily saying to win the league, but to be in that top 4, top 3 running, you need a little bit of luck, and we got it. And it's unfortunate for Liverpool, but it is what it is.
Again, you know, with the people crying that we always get the raw end of the deal with officials. I mean, we don't. It evens out. And I have personally I wasn't able to see that. I saw the flag go up, so I wasn't really that bothered when the shot went in. Schwinn's in a chat room. He obviously watched it over and over again for 4 straight days and says it wasn't offsides. And he's a fair, reasonable person, doesn't get bogged down with bias. So, I'll go with your assessments that it wasn't offside and that we got lucky, and I'll take it.
I mean, there is the moment when the ball's played that Sane was offside, but he isn't in a game. He isn't in a position to play that at first ball. So it all comes down to how they're going to level that ruling. But at the end of the day, I don't think it was, and there's good argument for it not to be. But we got extremely lucky. Let's jump to our midfield pairing of Torreira and Xhaka, because for me they made the absolute difference on Saturday. They had some immense tackles. They were fighting for everything in that center mid. It seemed as though if Xhaka missed a tackle, Torreira was there, and vice versa. On TV, it was just thunderous roars of approval whenever they got the ball or they won the ball. It looked like there was the occasional standing ovation for Torreira. I mean, it's nice to see that we have the central midfield pairing. I think we're finally seeing Xhaka. And I know Canton and I have been saying it, put the right player behind him and you see a completely different player. Mike, I thought they were both tremendous on the day. And part of the reason why we didn't lose that match.
They were. And, I mean, we'll talk about man of the match later, and there could be like 8 or 9 candidates. But I'm going to give you a spoiler right now. It's going to be hard for any midfielder playing to have a shit game. I mean, the guy is transformative to the midfield. He's transformative to our entire personality on the pitch. He is the bridge between Emery's intensity and the intensity of the rest of the team that we've seen from previous years can be subject to kind of being soft, for lack of a better word. And he's turning people hard, for lack of a better word. So yeah, I mean that midfield pairing, it just seemed from day one. That's who we wanted to see. Those of us who were patient about Xhaka said that's what we need to see before we'll really see the new Xhaka. And I wish those guys could play together in every single game that we have this season, but we're going to have to rotate it. But Lee, your thoughts on how that midfield pairing was in the game?
Right, I thought they were superb on the day, absolutely superb. I thought that definitely Xhaka's best game that he's played. I thought he was immense on the day. That's what you want. But Torreira was, helping him out, and they sort of worked in tandem, and it was really, really good to see. And I love the way that Xhaka was spreading the ball about. But that's what I want to see Xhaka be doing more often. I do believe because of the level of team that we stepped up to the plate a little bit. I feel that when we play teams a little bit of lower standard, we get sloppy. But they knew they couldn't afford to be sloppy in this game. And so the intensity level from both of them was fantastic. I've been nothing but impressed with Torreira since he's come to the club. I think he's been absolutely superb. I think managed fantastically by Unai Emery, because I felt the first few games he bedded him in. People were moaning and saying that he should be in the team straight away, but I felt that he was done that right. And I thought it was a really, really good performance, and I felt that we won that midfield battle. I felt that, again, tactics and by the manager, I felt that Klopp changed his team for our thinking of our two players in there. Went with two sort of holding midfield players in there, and they come unstuck. I know that we got a bit lucky with the goal, but they should have had a player sent off. Was it Fabinho? Should it should have been sent off? You know, if he was on a yellow card, it was a definite. I see Cardozi get sent off for a lot less than that on 3 days before that, didn't we, Mike?
Yeah.
And to see that in a Premier League game and not to be sent off, that was with 6 minutes to go. Who knows what could have happened with 10 men, you know? So, you know, let's get it right. Liverpool can moan about that, and quite rightly so, but, you know, I'm fed up with people and pundits turning around and saying, oh, he's let him off because he's on his second yellow card. Well, he certainly didn't let Cardozi off because he was on a yellow card. If it's a booking, whether you're on a card or not, you've got to go, and he should have gone. And who knows, we might have had maybe opened them up once or twice after that. I don't know, but I felt that you know, every time Emery made a tactical change, Klopp went in with a negative one by bringing on a central defender with a couple of minutes to go. So it shows you where we've come from. And yes, listen, managers have come to the Emirates on far too many occasions and just sat there and had an easy ride, just let the game go. But Klopp would have come off for that game knowing that his brain had been working overtime to try and keep up with what Arsenal were doing, and it was fantastic. And I thought we got our tactics dead right, and not just in midfield as well. I thought that defensively we was, you know, the Kolasinac one on the left back was a good decision. And I'm going to say this now. I'm a big critic of Xhaka, you know, but on the day, that's what you want to see him on, and it was a brilliant performance from those two guys. Absolutely brilliant.
Well, Klopp had kind of mentioned after the match, not in so many words, but he got tactically outmastered, and he made the point. He made this comment. He said something along the lines of, "They had so many attackers on the field. I was surprised we didn't see Bergkamp and Van Persie get subbed on." I don't think he was expecting us to go with that front line of Mkhitaryan, Ozil, Lacazette, and Aubameyang. I think he was
expecting is something that should be said more often.
Yeah, I think he was expecting us to sit back that first 20 minutes. I thought he was expecting them to have more of the ball and dictate the potential of the flow of the game, and that wasn't it. I mean, the first 20 minutes, we saw Mkhitaryan and Lacazette dropping very deep to push that ball forward, and even though Ozil had a relatively slow match, he was feeding a lot of people through that first 30 minutes, and that the momentum kind of came through him. And so, as Lee just said, tactically it was spot on, and I don't think Klopp expected us to have that much possession and that much drive. But it wasn't just the tactics, it was the substitutions. I mean, we saw Iwobi and Welbeck come on, and I thought they both impacted the game immediately. And in the past, we bemoan these type of substitutes, not just the player for player, but, oh, God, it's Welbeck and Iwobi. They're not going to do anything. I mean, Mike, Emery seems like he can't do anything wrong at this point because those two players got it spot on when they came on.
Oh, he can't do anything wrong. I mean, the things that he does wrong, he doesn't even do wrong. So I will blindly, at this point, follow whatever decisions he makes on starting 11s, whatever decisions he makes on in-game tactics. I've never claimed to know more about any of those things than any manager anywhere anyway. But it hasn't stopped me from having an opinion on what I think would be best. But I'm not going to challenge his decisions. He's got everything spot on as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. So let's go to.
Sorry, Andy. Just want to say that he did make mistakes at Crystal Palace with his substitutions, right? And he did. You know, what I mean, I think his substitutions in that game cost us. But what I will go back on that is because he's made so many good decisions over the last ever since he's been here and won us more games. Fans like me and Mike and yourself will let that slide. It's one of those things. You know what I mean? Like because he come out this week, his substitution. You know, if you have a look at it realistically, and I'm going to be honest with it, did anybody think putting Iwobi at left back was going to be the thing to go with? If you think about it, you think, oh, maybe a take off a holding midfield player. Oh no, he went with the left back thing. I thought, well, maybe he'd put Xhaka out there and bring in Iwobi there, but no, he was very, very bold with that substitution, and it worked, you know. And
even Iwobi, when he got told to go back there, pointed at himself like, "Me?
Yeah,
you talking to me?" You know, and he still went and did it. So credit where
He's going to
credit's
jump
due.
off a cliff for him, it seems.
Yeah, and that's what you want, right?
I'll tell you what's another thing that was poignant in the game. What I noticed was that as soon as we went 1-1, 2 or 3 players went straight over to Emery when it was asking, "What do you want me to do now? What's our game plan now? What are we going to go for this? Are we going to sit back in and all that?" Like, you know, he's getting the players' mentality right. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just about equalising now. What's the next phase that we're going to do? And I thought that was a very, very good thing to see. And he was telling them, right, we're going to go this way, we're going to go that way. And it's just like it's all planned, all pre-planned. If we go 1-1, this is what I'm going to do. There's nothing. It's constructive in everything that he does, and I thought that was a poignant thing that we done there.
Yeah, and that's got to be something that was discussed Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday last week, where in the scenario of each possession of the ball, each goal, come to me and I'm going to give you, hey, you know, they use play calling in the NFL. I'm sure they do it over there too. It's, hey, now we're going to this. And then I'm sure if you watch those 3 players who came over to him walk out to the pitch, they're barking the orders now to everyone else saying, here's what we're going to be doing. Mike, let's jump to the Lacazette goal. There's no other words to describe it except orgasmic. We get the privilege over here of seeing it 40 different times after it's scored. And I can tell you this, when he received that ball and he was played out of the position, his touch, I think, threw him off of goal. He had no indication of passing. He wanted to put the ball in the back of the net. And you could tell when he took that slight look and saw the keeper off of his line, he knew immediately what he was going to do. And, I mean, if that doesn't get him back into that crazy French squad, I don't know what does, because that was just a sublime finish. It was incredible.
And look, they won the World Cup without him, so I guess. But they're not going to win the next World Cup without, by not taking their best striker in the world right now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He is that. It was probably the loudest I've ever heard the Emirates in the 12 to 15 times I've been there. And at the time, I was actually taking a video, not a vlog. I wasn't taking a video of my own face. I don't do that. But I was trying to take a video of Emery, like I had in the Blackpool game. Thank you, Lee, by the way, for pointing out his and then not getting named on that tweet.
I'll forgive you.
Oh, thank you, Lee. Sweet man. But I was taking a video because we were down a goal. I was trying to kind of see how plugged in he was. He was running along the sideline with the players to the extent that he could, going crazy. And in doing that, I ended up catching the through ball from Iwobi and the goal. It's a shit video because all of a sudden it's like a Blair Witch type of video. And Tom Canton and I were just rolling around celebrating. But I mean, just another amazing goal with an incredible lead up, which is seemingly, we get one of these a game now. I mean, for fuck's sake, Lacazette's finish is just ridiculous. Lee, it's getting annoying and tiresome having to recap all these amazing Arsenal finishes. So would you mind kind of just taking the burden off of us?
It's fantastic. Long may it continue. It was not just the actual finish. I think someone said there was 15, 16 passes again before that went in, and I just felt if you look back at the goal, what was a very good thing that Emery done is he put Ramsey in there, and what Ramsey done, which no one else was doing, was getting into pockets. He was taking people out of little positions, and if you have a look at that goal, he gets the ball and he takes somebody out, and then it gets to Iwobi, who then puts it into that little gap that he's made, and the run is fantastic, and it's like they've got a slide rule out, and they're making all these calculations on a football pitch to create that. And you have to say that they're 1-0 up Liverpool, and they're all in their proper places. They've all organised their shape. We've gone banks of 4. Typically what a club would do, have done all that. But Arsenal moved it around just slightly to get the pass in. And I have to say it, I don't know about you, Mike, but there was a few people around of us saying, he was, dive, get a penalty or something like that. Contact, you only need contact these days, and it's a penalty. But he didn't. He kept on his feet, and my God, he got the reward for keeping on his feet, because the next touch was sublime that opened it up. Oh my God, what finish as well! What an absolute! And he's done a couple of them this season. To be fair, it's not no fluke. It's not no fluke that he's done that, And
we're getting a blinder a week with this team right now. I mean, Fulham. What was the next one that was even better in the Leicester game, and then this one now? I mean, it's just the free kick against Palace. They're coming weekly now.
Yeah,
and that's what you need. It's all part of this confidence, right? And we are going to lose. We're going to lose 2-0, 3-0. It's going to happen. There's going to be an off day, but right now that's not, and that's what's building our confidence. And part of what I think, not enough pundits post-match gave us credit for, or Emery credit for, was the job of shutting down Salah and Mane, even Firmino. I mean, our fullbacks were hurtling forward, and in the past, we would have been under severe threat. And I don't feel like we were against Liverpool. And as Lee said earlier, there were moments in the match where they got unlucky, and there were moments in the match where we had to get our shape correct. But there were also moments in the match where I think if it was Mkhitaryan who would have crossed that ball, that squared that ball, so there were moments for both teams where we could have put balls on net. But the fact that we could shut down a Salah, Mane, and Firmino front three, in seasons past, we would have saw big holes where they would have taken advantage. And there were just moments where, Mike, the gaping holes were closed.
There we go. Favorite kind of hole is gaping. It was a team that was prepared tactically. They were prepared mentally, which I find even more important. Yeah. That's all I can say. I don't know how he did it. I don't care how he did it. It's not my job, but he did it, and I have much more confidence now after that game that he can do it again when the time comes 4 weeks from now against
absolutely. And here's
go ahead.
Here's the thing for me, right? When you look at a team of City's caliber, they play that way for 30 out of 38 matches in a season. That is the type of performance now that we should be expecting week in and week out, whether it's Liverpool, City, or it's Palace or Brighton. We should be playing that type of football. And if you look back at our Invincibles, the reason why we won 49 on the trot was because we played like that 49 times in a row, and teams would fear us coming to the Emirates or coming to the Watfords last year. We would see that no one feared us. It was, hey, we're playing Arsenal, and this is 3 points, right? Now it's got to be the best we can get from this is a draw, because that should be our bar now. And anything less than that isn't acceptable, in my opinion. I think that, Mike, you had said a while ago, hey, everything's going great. It's that 10th game of the season against Liverpool where we're going to see what we're made of. And I think everyone now, as Lee had mentioned before leaving the ground, we're a little bit upset we just got the point. But, at the end of the day, it is what it is. I want to go to man of the match.
Just real quick, because you mentioned the point, the Texas Gooner asked the question that we were all discussing at the pub, and we were all discussing it after the Palace game as well. In terms of the way the game went, not how you felt going into it, Lee, is this a point gained or is it 2 points lost?
Listen, I think that, this would have been a fantastic result if we'd have beaten Palace the week before. But we dropped 2 points against Palace, and that put us a little bit under pressure on this game here. I feel at the end of the day, look, you're going into the 80th minute against Liverpool when you're 1-0 down. You've got to take it as a point game. But on the whole, I feel a little bit disappointed because we're at home and we didn't take them. If I'll be honest, I felt if it had been another 5 minutes, we could have got it. I don't think it's a 2 points dropped or a point go. I just think we got a point, and I can't be more. Sitting on the fence more than that, really. I think, I'll get the splinters out of my arse, but that's how I feel like, I felt that it's just a good point, and nothing more, nothing less, there'd be days when we'll play a lot worse than that and win comfortably, and there'd be times that we play better and we'll lose. So that's how I see it, really.
How was it for you, Andy? And then we'll go into the man of the match.
It's a 0.1, but more important than that, I think it's how we performed. It was just the overall performance over 90 minutes for me. That's more important because now we've got that kind of weight off of our back of we haven't played anyone good since Chelsea. Well, we outplayed them for 60 plus minutes. We were unlucky not to win. We were unlucky not to lose. So I think a point is thoroughly deserved. But for me, it's more the overall performance. So,
can I just add one thing on that though, which is a little bit when you say about a point. This is without Mkhitaryan playing very well, and Aubameyang playing not very well. You know, so if we could, do you imagine if them two were on fire on that game? What it could have been like, you know. That's why I've got that little tinge of disappointment, if you know what I mean. But in saying that, not everybody's going to play well. But I feel that if them two guys would, when our front three, whoever it be, really turn up, that's what I'm looking forward to. You know, hopefully it'll be against Spurs.
Couple of comments from the chat room. We got Archie. Thanks for joining us. Said it was the best first half this season, and it's weird to say that about a 0-0, but absolutely it was the best first half we played this season. And Schwinn about the point gain. He said if pregame he would have looked at it as a 0.1. In the middle of the game, he looked at it as a point loss, given how much we dominated them. And then by the end of the game, he looked at it as a 0.1 again. So, you know, you think you sit on the fence. You think you sit on the fence a lot, Lee. You've never seen how Schwinn sits on the fence. But
if you look at we haven't been able to think this way for so long. It's always been we're going to drop 3 points from the start. And then if we had I told you yesterday, this is the most excited I've been about Arsenal for a number of years because
the podcast isn't drudgery for you anymore.
Exactly. All right, let's go to man of the match. I'm going to go first, and then I'm going to hand it over to you both. Mine goes to Rob Holding. I know you could probably suggest 8 players, but for me, there were interceptions. There was just great positioning. I think that he, like Leno, we're going to get to this question a little bit from Tom, but they, for me, have cemented their place in this starting 11, and they're saying to the players behind them, come and get it. And for Holding, he's been tremendous all season, but he was my man in the match because there were just moments where the game could have flipped. There could have been passes that he intercepted that could have created shots on target for them, and he stopped it from happening. And so that, for me, he's my man of the match.
I'm going Torreira, like I said before. I mean, you can't argue against Holding, but you can't really argue against Torreira either, and you probably can't argue against whoever Lee is going to say, unless he says Lichtsteiner. Who's it for you?
For me, it's a very interesting point what Andy's saying about Holding, because I feel with Holding also that he knows that if he plays really well, he's going to play the next game, you know, because that's what the mentality is now. I've seen players play really, really well and then be left out for the next game because someone else is fit and all that. That's not happening. I think that's breeding his confidence. But I'm going to go with Trevor because I just felt that he set it up. It was him that one that dominated the midfield as far as. And I'm also going to say that when we went 1-0 down, he was the one that drove forward for that chance we had that shot. And I think that he was the one that just set the bar. I think he just set the bar for that performance. And there was some fantastic supporting acts from Xhaka, Rob Holding. I'm going to have to say Bellerin, I thought, considering that he hadn't trained all week, come back with a marvellous performance in there. And our friend Mustafi, I thought, has to be given a little slight mention as well. You know, I also think that, you know, if I'll be honest, I didn't think our front, I think out of all our three, Lacazette worked really, really hard. But you know, that's they done their jobs. But for me, Torreira, I felt was just, you know, just shading it probably from Xhaka and Rob Holding. But it's great to see a young English player playing like that as well. I know that that's something that we're all pleased with.
He was magnificent. We'll talk about him in a user question in a minute. But we've got Schwinn saying Xhaka. We've got Archie saying Mustafi. Lewis says Torreira. I mean, it's nice.
I don't think no one's wrong on that. I don't think no one's wrong. If you know, Andy's made a great point for Holding. I wouldn't argue with that. You know, people will make a great points for Xhaka, and people will make good points for Torreira. I think that they were, all three of them in particular were absolutely outstanding.
Liechtensteiner Marner Kerner. Lee, you've hated him since he joined Arsenal. You made a comment once that said, I think it was about Fabinho being signed by Liverpool. At the time of the transfer window, you had made, and it was a fair point. Liverpool are looking to sign players like that. We're signing players like this.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with you. He's old. I give credit to Claude. He said there's no way a player of that caliber plays in Juventus' side for as long as he did without being a good player. But there was a moment on Saturday where and I saw this because Tony had tagged you on Twitter or sent it into our group. He was on the sidelines barking orders at that defense. And Mike,
he's not a coach.
He's the best player coach we've ever seen at this club, and it's proven to me that Lee knows as much about football as he does fantasy NFL, and he's our best signing ever.
Yeah, I mean, he is the best signing. He's the best free transfer ever in the history of modern football. I mean,
better than Sol Campbell.
Sol Campbell didn't come for free, Lee.
But he's no Sol Campbell. You know, I know Sol Campbell, and he's no Stephen Lichtsteiner.
Hey, so, all jokes aside,
this is where the podcast officially gets taken off the air.
All jokes aside, the one thing that highlighted to me, not more than him being kind of that leader and that mentality, is that players are allowed to walk off of the bench into the touchline and bark and scream orders, because we would never have seen, like, Boldy couldn't have done that under Arsene.
We still don't.
Exactly. No, but it's just that there's that kind of that free flow, like, hey, if you've got something positive to say, or if you're going to go out, if you've noticed something, just get out and do it. You know, it's for the best of the 11 on the pitch, and you know, you've got to give him credit. And I, more than anyone else, would love to see a younger, better right back have come in. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. I want to drop a knowledge point on the two of you before we get to questions. Arsenal have won more points from losing positions, which has been 8, than any other Premier League team this season. And while they've not led at halftime in any of their Premier League games, they have scored 19 goals in the second half, more than any other side. So, again, we go back to this tactic point. Stuff's happening at halftime, and these players are responding to it, and that's just another positive for me.
Yeah, I mean, I cannot believe that a team that hasn't led a single Premier League game after 11 Premier League games at the half is sitting on the precipice of the top 4. And
we're 6 behind City at this moment. Last year, Mike, we were 12.
I mean, that's got to change. Let's not get me wrong.
No, but we're still in it, you know.
Winning while learning. That's what we're doing.
Absolutely.
So we got user questions to finish us off this week. We got a nice assortment of them. Tom Rosenhammer recently departed from London, and he already wants to come back. He's made that clear. Is it time for Cech to take his starting role back? Personally, for me, I mean, Leno's had a few pretty glaring mistakes this week. Don't get me wrong. I mean, one of them led to a goal. A few led to posts being hit or near misses. The fact is, he's given up 4 goals that weren't penalties in the last 7 games since he took over for Cech in the Watford game. And, you know, he looks confident with the ball at his feet. His back line, I think, is playing for him. Cech didn't do much wrong shot-stopping-wise to lose his job, so maybe we have a 1A, 1B situation, but that's a great thing to have. And Cech doesn't seem too miffed by it. So, Lee, I mean, does Cech – do you think Leno's done enough basically to lose the job that he gained solely because of Cech's injury?
No, I think that Cech's got to be patient now. You know, if I'll be honest, I think that Leno deserves the spot. You know, of course he's going to make mistakes, but Cech's make mistakes as well. Listen, at the end of the day, Leno made a couple of mistakes. He made one for on Saturday when there's no need for him to come out for the ball. They hit the post, but he got away with it. Cech's made mistakes this season and got away with it. So, you know, for me, I think if the style of play that we're playing, Leno suits it more, and that's my opinion. I before the season started, I said Cech in goal because I didn't really see too much of him. After watching him for a few games now, I think it'd be very, very harsh if Leno was left out. Very harsh.
Yeah, and I think that Czech has to patiently wait, like Lee said. You know, the commentators on TV over here were giving Leno a lot of stick for that save that led to the goal. But you got to put yourself in the keeper's shoes. Do you see the shot when it's taken? You don't know what's behind you. So if you're getting a shout from your defender to clear, that you're going to punch it away. You don't know the curve of the ball, the speed. I mean, he could have tried to catch it and at the last minute thought, I'm going to palm. As Lee had said as well, I mean, there was one mistake in that game which it could have led to a goal and we got saved. We got lucky again. But overall, I think that Czech is being played, and as said before, same with Holding. The players behind them are being told to step it up, and I don't think we see Leno. I think he's our starting keeper right now, you know, and he's only 24 years old. Those types of balls where he comes off of the box and tries to clear them, he will get coached to stop that immediately. But I think that he's our starting keeper, and I think he makes less vulnerable mistakes playing the ball out of the back than Czech does. And so ultimately, I think Leno keeps his starting 11 position easily.
I think we're all in agreement on that. If you're in the chat, thank you. We've got somewhere around 18 to 20 people in there, which is great. It's very organic growth that we're going for. And it's nice to see so many faces, both new and well known to us in there. So please hit the thumbs up if you get a chance. It helps us, and subscribe and let people know about it if you're enjoying the show. Next question, also from Tom,
if you're not enjoying, fuck off.
Yeah, if you don't join, then we'll have another very abusive podcast for you to join into and listen to. Which Rob Holding performance, Lee, do you rate higher? And I think you know the two that we're talking about: the FA Cup final or the Liverpool game on Saturday.
Oh, I think you got to go for the cup final one, because there's certainly more on that, you know. And I thought, you know, everybody was thinking that he was going to get ripped apart by Diego Costa that day. But in saying that, Mertesacker helped him along on that game, where I felt on this one he's had to, you know, look after himself, a bit of experience. So, you know, listen, I'd be very interested to see if Rob gets into the England squad. You know, this thing about Gareth Southgate, which I don't believe, I think it's a load of rubbish. Oh, if you're playing well, blah, blah, blah. He's got his favourites and that's what it is. But I don't think there's been no one, you know, like that Gomez, for instance, certainly didn't impress me more than Rob Holding, if I'll be honest. I think he's very, very accomplished. He's good on his left side, which is, you know, not a lot of players are about on their left-hand side, so he gives you the very, very good balance. I'll tell you what he is also. He's a good footballer. You know, I watched him yesterday and, when it was Saturday. There's times when the ball's under pressure, doesn't panic, you know. Does not panic. He just, you know, knows exactly what he's doing with that ball. Lovely little cross-ball as well. Out of the two, I'm going to stick my neck out and say, because it was the FA Cup final, I've got to say the Chelsea one, if I'll be honest. But very close yesterday.
I would agree with Lee. I think the FA Cup final, just the grandeur of the day and what we were facing, especially with Purr being in there, he had to do a lot. But it's shown us that he's grown as a football player to be able to now bring this type of performance again and again. And, you know, under Arsene, we would see these dips, right? Ebbs and flows. And with Holding, we're just seeing this constantly getting better. I'm not sure that he's like England ready yet, but if he does get the call up, there's no surprise. You know, I don't think he's.
There's a call up in about 2 weeks or in about a week, right? And then there's nothing until March. So
yeah.
It's either.
So if he gets it, excellent. But for me, I think an under 21 maybe call up. I don't know, but we're just seeing him improve as a player, and that's what we want. I don't think that, you know, there's a reason Callum Chambers has gone out on loan. I don't think we ever see him play for Arsenal again. But I think Holding, you know, everyone in December was saying, or excuse me, everyone was saying in January, we need to bring in a defensive center back. I don't think we need that at this point. You know, we've got Socrates, we've got Koscielny coming back. I think Holding has now created that position for his own. And he now is for me, he's that centerpiece, and Mustafi and Socrates will rotate around him.
Yeah, I have to agree. And no, we're not going to see Chambers again, because I went to see Fulham about a week and a half ago, and I got to see 90 minutes of Tim Ream, the American, play instead of Chambers even making the 18. So there's something gone horribly wrong with him as far as his quality or his confidence, because I don't think he's hurt. But I'll actually stick my neck out and say that the game out of Holding was more impressive for the exact reason that both of you have said, which is that, you know, he kind of fed off of Mertesacker in that game. And as surprised as any of us were to see either one of them have a good game that day, much less the two of them be that fortress that they were, this was a tough assignment against probably an even better attacking lineup than Chelsea had. And he did it all by himself. I mean, he partnered well with Mustafi on the day, but I mean, he wasn't feeding off of anybody. He was Rob Holding, the better of the two center backs, and maybe he made Mustafi better on the day rather than the other way around. From Kerry McCollum, speaking of which, out of the three players, name your most improved since the season started: Iwobi, Holding, or Bellerin?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'll jump on this, Mike.
Right.
I'm going to say Bellerin, only because last season he got so much shit, and I think that we haven't seen a flashy Bellerin. We've seen a consistent Bellerin. He hasn't been making the mistakes he was making in the past that would lead to goals. I think that we're seeing him attack a lot more often. I mean, if you go back and watch some of the matches, he's sometimes the highest player on the pitch. And then 4 seconds later, he's at midfield making an interception. So for me, he's consistently starting. I think he's played almost every match, and so I would give him the vote. But the other two are just, I mean, they are just completely different players than what we saw last season, especially Iwobi. Jesus. Every time he comes on, you're thinking, this is like, I wouldn't have ever guessed he could have been this good of a player. But for me, I'm going to say Bellerin's my vote.
And it's crazy because he's not even finishing. There's no finished like end product necessarily even coming from Iwobi, but he's impacting games like ridiculously. Lee, what do you think out of the three of them since the beginning of this season?
Well, I wouldn't argue with Bellerin, but I will. I think with Bellerin, he's been
podcast. That's what we do.
I think with Bellerin, I think that he's always been in the team. You know what I mean? Like for the last few seasons, and whether he's played good or bad, so he's got experience. I just think for me, Iwobi has just been transformed, absolutely transformed. So much so that he was the one that come on Saturday and turned the game for me. And all the critics, me included, that have given him stick and all that, were all asking the same question in the pub at 4:30: why wasn't he in the team? Now, you would not have been saying that this time last season. You know, he was actually saying there was a lot of people saying that he should have been sold, got rid of, was a waste of space, whatever. So from that turnaround to being like where fans are saying, why ain't he playing? And then to make an impact, whether he's been starting or on the bench, I think, you know, for me, it's Iwobi.
You know,
sorry, Andy.
But I have to tell you,
I mean, you can't be wrong here, right? There's like, that's the great thing, and there's no argument to this. It's all positive, but you know,
sorry, Ola. So, yeah. I mean, by the way, when you did see that lineup at 4:30, I was standing right next to you, and you're like oversized, exaggerated tantrum about Mkhitaryan being in the lineup.
Oh, I've got to say about Mkhitaryan, I know we're all positive and all that, but for me,
he was the worst player on the night.
Just isn't doing it for me. Just not doing it in games, and we spent
and I'm not
on wages.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but as soon as you had that tirade, I decided to go straight to the Coral once I got in the Emirates and put a tenner on him to score, and he very nearly.
He nearly did. And listen, I'm wishing him to do really, really well. But you know, I just think that, and I'm not comparing him with the Sanchez. I'm not looking at him and saying, "Oh, this is the one for Sanchez." I think that we replaced Sanchez with Aubameyang. If I'll be honest, so Mkhitaryan was a different sort of a player. but he's just not justified. In the first 10, 15 minutes, he give the ball away more times than I don't know what. And he is an infuriating player for me at the moment. Obviously got ability, and I really, really want him to do well. But at this moment in time, he's just not doing it. And, you know, for him to be getting in place in the team in front of the likes of Iwobi, in the likes of Aaron Ramsey, and, you know, for me at this moment in time is baffling, if I say. But, you know, that's my only downfall, you know, negative. And the only real question that I would have to ask of Emery, you know what I mean, is what are you seeing in him at the moment? That's my
I mean,
that's my only negativity.
Well, the chat, Lee, is saying that he's really kind of the only player that can play on the right side until we buy a wide player on the right. Iwobi kind of is more important on the to the left.
Get that? So he's balancing the team up at the moment, but yeah,
which like Lewis says is a good reason to be anxiously anticipating the return of Reece Nelson or whoever we end up buying. I will go with Iwobi as well. Bellerin is kind of, I mean, he's massively improved, but he's more of a regaining of form than, you know, from 2 years ago. But the question was, you know, from the beginning of this season, so I can see that being a good answer. Holdings look great. He's done nothing but get better, but I'm kind of holding out judgment until you know, to see whether he's better than Cannavaro for real, until he's been doing it week in, week out. But I like what I've seen so far. So Iwobi, I mean, he's just the one that just, you know, I don't know if I just said it or thought it, but I mean, I probably said it maybe 10 times. He needed to go out on loan, and I'm glad that I was wrong about that, like with most things. So Kerry also asked about how electric the atmosphere at the Emirates was on a scale from 1 to 10. I mean, for me, my sample size is moderate. It was a 10 personally for me, but you know, with all the games you've been to, Lee, I mean, where was that on a true scale?
Up there, it was very much up there. I'd say 8 out of 10 for me.
And what was a 10? Like, what game can you say was it?
You'd have to go Spurs last season. Spurs, when we beat them 5-2, was electric. The Barcelona game when we beat them 2-1, you know, that they're sort of up there. Leicester, when we won 2-1 on Valentine's Day, when Welbeck scored in the last minute, was electric. Just trying to think of any others that were great.
Henry versus Leeds, that was pretty spectacular.
Man United, when we beat them with Thierry Henry scoring a header in the last minute to win that 1-0. Those sort of games would probably be up there a little bit more. Manchester United, when we beat them 3-0 a couple of seasons ago. Do you remember when it was up there? Chelsea, when we beat them 3-0 as well. Was it 3-1?
Okay, all right. This is you know.
All right, Lee. Lee, calm down.
So we've had a few, like, you know, but that one was that's up there. It's up there.
We had a couple more questions. I'm enjoying these questions a lot this week. This is from Brian Whitner from San Antonio. My son has the kiss of death when it comes to kits. Every kit I buy him with a player name on it, that player's been sold. Now he says he only wants his own name and number on a kit. I don't know what his number is, but I'm afraid this will lead to fandom being sold. What should I do? Andy, I'm going to go to you. Specific question about this to Lee. But,
you know, I've been in the same boat, Mike. I feel like the last couple players I got on a shirt were sold, and then I was like, well, what's the point? Because I love the home kit from a couple of years ago, and I have Alexis on the back. I can't wear that, you know. No. So I brought the question up: can you get a legend on the back instead of a current player? So
on the back jersey
of a current kit, you get a legend, and you're saying no. Lee, what do you think?
Well, Tony come up one with for Tony Tours when that would have been like free with rule over the top of it, like free. So that would have been.
I'm getting Anfield 89 on my next kit. I guess going to say Anfield 89.
I wouldn't put a name on anybody's, but on my back, if I'll be honest. If I would have one on it.
And this is my question for you. I've noticed you never wear a kit to a game or really any other time. Even though you're super fit and you can pull it off, and and I, on the other hand, wear like a red fitted sheet to games. But a lot of people.
Mike is now flirting with Lee on the podcast. Everyone, Mike is flirting with Lee on the pod.
I have to make up for all my other comments.
Oh,
does it have anything to do with you playing the game at a relatively high level, or is it just kind of like
I think in the 80s it was not sort of the dumb thing to wear your kit was also seen as a little bit of a funny sort of a thing.
Cheesy.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah. If I be honest, you know what I mean. But certainly that's not the case now. I look at when you go to Newcastle, for instance. I think it's fantastic to walk around Newcastle city centre and they're all wearing the black and white shirts. So I do occasionally. As you can see, I've got one on there. Like I have got some Arsenal gear and all that, but I tend not to wear it to games. I don't know why. Sometimes I wear a training top underneath, but you can't see it. But no, I don't know why.
I love the Arsenal underwear you had on for the Blackpool game. It was fantastic.
I always wear red pants to Arsenal home games. Always, So that's certainly like a stupid thing that I do, and if like it makes a difference, you know what I mean. But in my head, it does. But no, I don't do it, like, you know what I mean. But I haven't really, if I'll be honest, got that many shirts. Like a home shirt. I will buy a training top more than a home shirt. I don't know why that is. I can't explain. But
the next time I come over, I want you to take the one from behind you out of the frame, put it on, and
listen. I'd certainly have Charlie Nicholas on the back. You know what I mean? There you go. I would have that, like, so that would have been one that I would have had.
And they're now, I was just in the Armory like an hour before we went live here, and they've got this brand new legends, numbers, and names on the back of the legendary kits, which to me it's almost like, I don't like the idea of a legend on a current kit, but a legend on the previous kits when their names were not on the back of them to begin with. That's kind of fishy to me as well.
Yeah, because you sort of like remembered for their numbers more than anything else. You know what I mean? Like Charlie Nicholas always sort of wore 10, but he did wear different numbers. Liam Brady is really famous for wearing 7, but he wore 11, 8 in the day.
I almost got a Michael Thomas jersey once, with the 4 on it, just because of obvious reasons. And then it occurred to me that when he did what he did, he just had the 4 on the back.
So
I want it to be inauthentic, but Brian. Just look for the guy with the contract, which might be Torreira at this point, and I think you can't go wrong there. Or
long-term contract, someone like Torreira. Yeah, I would go with that one.
And I'd still be nervous because even though he's playing tremendously on the pitch, you never know with these foreign players if they could.
Actually, Brian, do not get the Torreira kit for your son, please, because I'm realizing that might be the end of Torreira.
So. Yeah, tell him to get Mustafi or someone like that. That'd
be I think it's weird, and I've noticed this, that like every American who buys a kit gets the patches, and I don't know, like in England when I used to buy kits when I was younger, I'd never get the patches or name on the back, and now I feel like every American I see.
That's because you was skint.
Truth.
All right, 2 more questions from Fredo in New Orleans. We have Sporting and Wolves at home and Bournemouth and Vorskla away before we have the back-to-back with Spurs and United. Will we still be coming into the North London Derby with an 18-game undefeated streak by that point, or will we trip up somewhere in November? Lee, what do you think?
Oh, that's a good question. Listen, I don't give a monkeys if we don't do the business in the Europa League game after this one, because we'd already qualified. So, I can listen. We take on Spurs before that Europa League game. I don't really want to see any of our boys going out to that trip.
I think the Europa League game is 3 days before the Spurs game.
Yeah, so I don't mind if we take out the kids for that game and a real weakened side, and if we lose, so be it. Be nice to keep the run going. But from my point of view, Wolves we've got winnable games again now, haven't we? For a few games. Wolves is going to be a tough game, but I expect us to win because we're at home. I expect us to beat Lisbon because we're at home. Listen, we've gone Bournemouth for the last couple of seasons and not won there. You know what I mean? So it's no gimme that isn't. You know, but I feel with Man United played so badly and Bournemouth played so well and they still beat them. You know, if we turn up for that game, and I mean we're going to have to, but if we turn up, I think we'll win that one. And then of course it takes us into the North London. I think that if I be honest, you know, the one that as always is the worry for me is Old Trafford. It doesn't matter how well they're playing or how bad they're playing. We just don't seem to go there and perform. So it'd be really, really nice to go up there and put in a performance, you know. And if we have, you know, touch wood beaten Tottenham on the Sunday, that would give us a lot of confidence going into that game. But why can't the run go on anyway, like, you know, to Old Trafford and see where we are then, and hopefully continue on until Christmas and over. I think that if I was to say that we would lose a game, where I think that we will lose, will be at Anfield in at the end of December. But I think we could see a couple of draws coming in maybe. But yeah, why not? Let's see. Why can't we? I can't see no reason why we couldn't keep up that run.
Andy, yes or no? 18-game winning streak or undefeated or?
Yeah, I don't think there's any team there that gives us too much damage. If I had to look at that run and see a banana skin, I think it would be Bournemouth. I think sometimes Eddie Howe just gets it spot on. But like I said, the way we played on Saturday, that's it now. That's the bar. And if we don't play that well, we don't have a chance of winning the league. And now that we've seen it, and we can, and particularly with this manager, that's got to be it now. And if we go up against Wolves, Bournemouths, Sporting, playing that well, we're up 3 or 4-0 at halftime.
How many Bournemouths are there?
Huh?
How many Bournemouths are there? If we go up against the Wolveses and the Bournemouths.
Sometimes Lee, he makes jokes.
Yeah,
and
goes right over your head, doesn't it? Like, you know,
I wish I had an app on my phone where I could just do the crickets noise. You know,
a lot of weed over people's heads is just kind of too, you know, just way out there, and not everybody can be on my level. It's just the way it is. All right, seriously though, speaking of my level, Dave and Lori Ziegler with the final comment. It's more of a comment than a question, or it's a rhetorical question. They were at the Pins after Liverpool as well. Just on their way home from a great trip that they have. Why is the room still spinning? And I think that pretty well sums up the entire trip for a lot of the people that were on it. Lee, your daily and weekly routine is about to become much less involved with Yanks running around at various pubs through my influence or otherwise.
Been a pleasure. Been a pleasure meeting you.
I've returned to normal service now.
Normal service. No, it's been an absolute pleasure meeting all the guys. You know. I'll tell you what, you've got some characters in that group. I'll tell you, Leno. So, yeah, but it's been a real good blast, and it's been. I'll tell you what I have, and I'm not going to blow pipe up your backsides, you guys, but you know, like the knowledge you guys have of the game is, you know, better than my fantasy football anyway in America. You know, I'll give you that. You've got like some real top knowledge, and you know. The passion that they show, and you know, and what is a great thing of it from my point of view is that you've all got families back home and all that. And everyone that I've seen is all, when you go home, I'll go home tomorrow. I'm absolutely gutted. They've all been absolutely gutted that they're all going home. You know, so it's been an absolute.
Americans have horrible family lives. Is that what you're saying?
No. They've not had horrible. You know, I certainly know that they've not. But like they've all been disappointed. I think Steve was the last one I see from LA on, and I said to him, "When do you go?" Because the sort of question you ask is when you're going to go home. And he said, "Oh, I'll go home tomorrow." And you think, "Oh, I wish I had said it," because he's all got depressed. "Oh, I'm going home tomorrow," like, you know. But it's been an absolute pleasure, like with all you guys around, like, you know, and you know, listen, most of them all knew who Kevin was as well, like, you know. So I do tip me out to off.
And I'm glad you brought that up. And just another fantastic visit, thanks to your influence of Kevin Campbell at the pub. I mean, I spent a little bit of time with him up in Liverpool, which was a surprise. And then again at the pub yesterday. And I asked him, I'm like, do you mind if I kind of parade you around like I don't want to say like a circus pony. I know that this is beneath you, but I just want to introduce you to everybody because they're so excited to meet you. And the man could not be more genuinely excited about doing that. He FaceTimed my son to tell him to keep up the hard work at football. He had a word and a moment for everybody that was there at the pub that he met. And I mean, I can't imagine a nicer guy who is in the position of having, scored almost 60 goals for Arsenal. And I'm glad that you've made such a good friendship with him and are sharing him with your mates.
He's a good guy. And the one I see what I find really funny is that people seem to be, I don't know if because he's a big lad or whatever, but they seem to be scared to ask him for a photo at first, and they're all very, very nervous. And as soon as he says, "Is it all right for a photo?" Sometimes because he can't hear him, he goes, "Sorry," and they go, "Oh, is it all right for a photo?" And, "Oh, yeah." And he's so.
The funny part was there was a couple people I met there last night that were Americans, and they were telling me that they didn't want to bother you for a photo. And I'm like,
Kevin, just move out to the sideline. I'll tell you what has been great on a couple of times, and Kevin won't mind this, you know what I mean? Is that people
and Claude? I'm like, I don't want to bother them for a picture.
I've actually said to Kevin, do you mind Kevin taking a photo? I've got Kevin taking photos. It's an absolute, gash, you know what I mean? But he takes it in all great spirits. He's absolutely, wonderful, wonderful person. I've got to say that. And, he gives me a bit of stick, I have to say, but he loves it, when I'm being called half pint and we're doing the old finger and all that. He gets involved with it, and he's such a good guy, do you know what I mean? And everybody that knows him, that's a lovely guy.
That's proper banter, and you have a great sense of humor about it, and so did Kev. Just to wrap up, I want to encourage all of our listeners again to interact more with us on our YouTube platform. We're trying to put more focus on it, put more content on it. We've got the video from us from Sutton. We got the video from Highbury. I hope to have more out there. We may even have some videos that don't include Lee judges on them. Right now, I think they almost all do. We're doing more live podcasts in the future, so if you're free when we go live, join us in the chat. Otherwise, you can catch up on it. It's free, and the OAP discount is also free. So check us out when you can.
Get on it, crowd. Get on it.
Search YouTube for the Gooners podcast. Subscribe to the channel, set notifications, give us a thumbs up, please, before you leave here today. Next week, we are expecting, and I always say expecting because it's never over till it's over, but we're expecting to have a very special guest, not just a regular special guest like this week, but after the Wolves game, we will be welcoming the Right Honourable John Bercow, MP, who is Speaker of the House of Parliament for the UK and a lifelong Gooner. He'll be reviewing the games that we're about to play, chatting with us about his Arsenal passion and fandom, and so we'll be asking for some user questions well ahead of time. You can probably figure out why we'll be doing that, but a couple days at least before the podcast. So keep an eye out for the tweets.
Can I ask a question? Ask if he remembers me at Sutton, because I got on the train with him at Sutton on the way home. You know what I mean? And he was a really nice guy.
Remind me to ask him that, and I will.
Just say if but yeah, he was a really nice guy. And they was all asking these questions, and like an idiot, I'm going, "Who is it?" It was
America. I mean, if we have a television show where they show Congress, and I mean, the man is full of personality. Doesn't at all that he's a Gooner.
He was with his son as well, you know what I mean? So he was a really nice guy, really good guy.
Well, thanks again, Lee, for your outstanding hospitality.
Thanks for being on, Lee.
No, I'll tell you what, guys, keep doing what you're doing because it is fantastic. You're doing a great job.
And Andy, you're overdue for the pilgrimage. It's your turn next.
It's either going to be August or May.
Well, this is it, you know what I mean? We're definitely going to come out. We don't know if we're going to come out there for the Gooner Gra. Thinking about that, or the Arsenal, or whether the Arsenal come out there in
sounds like it's happening. From people, people that are in the know.
A lot of people saying it.
So I heard one thing from. I was actually at a party last night where there's some KSE folk who work there, and the rumor mill here is that the first event to kick off Kroenke's new stadium in LA will be the Arsenal playing one of the other top. They're saying it might be Bayern Munich in that Champions.
But that's not going to be ready next summer, is it?
I don't know. That's the whole thing. I'm not sure if it's going to be ready this summer or next, but they're saying that the first event to actually open the stadium would be a visit from Arsenal playing there. So I don't know, Mike.
That would only make sense.
Yeah, well, it's going to look like it happens. Something like that happen.
Yeah. So.
Well, the Guy Fawkes fireworks are now starting, so I'm gonna cut this off. It sounds like I'm about to get shot, but thanks for joining us, fellas. We'll see you next week. Come on, you Gooners.